I've got a lot of tomatoes, and some of them I transplanted before you. Most of them around the time that you planted yours. I also have a lot of volunteers because I've grown a lot of tomatoes here at my house over the years, and so my soil has a bunch of tomato seeds, and my compost has a bunch of tomato seeds. So there's all sorts of tomatoes around here, but a few of my tomatoes are reaching this really critical point, so I think I want to show you something. Here's one tomato. This one's pretty healthy. It's a variety that I really cherish. These are chocolate cherry tomatoes, my favorite cherry tomato. I've got some aphids, by the way. Maybe you can see those little black dots. Those are bugs. I don't want them to be there. And it's kind of a bummer. There's not a ton of aphids right now. So as long as it gets really hot, or if we get lucky and some good bugs show up, the aphids will go away. But I'm really hoping that they don't get too gnarly. So you can see in this tomato all the right stuff. And, like I said, I've got random tomatoes that just sprout out of the compost. I've got some like that one over by the banana that are just volunteers that are huge, so I'm going to leave that one. I've got some that I planted that aren't doing great, like that one back there. I planted that one and it's just, I think the hail hit it too hard or something. It's not really going anywhere. We'll see what happens with it. I planted this one too. It was little tiny itty bitty and it's not going anywhere. Maybe if it warms up they'll take off, but in the meantime they're just kind of wallowing. But here's a perfect example. This is a pretty darn lovely tomato. Okay, tomato has leaves. It has the trunk. Each of the leaves is attached to a stem. That will be flowers soon. And I'm gonna show you some flowers in a minute. I believe all tomato flowers are yellow. They have the same parts as nightshade because tomato is a nightshade. So that's why some people have allergies to tomatoes, because they have been bred to have less of the nightshade toxin, but some people are hypersensitive to that. Anyway, this is a pretty decent 16, 18 inch tall tomato. Okay, and when you can start to see little flowers, and I believe some of yours already have flowers, when you can start to see flowers, you've got to do this thing. Tomatoes have leaves, stems, trunk, flowers, and they have these called suckers. And suckers are parasitic growth. They're a branch of the trunk that will use a ton of the tomato energy, but will not produce any fruit. They're pretty much useless. So you can see right there, there's a stem that has leaves. These are doing photosynthesis. That's good for the plant. We want to leave those alone, protect that. But then that little thing in the middle, between the stem and the trunk, that little thing, that's got to go. And when they're really small like this, you can just break them off. That's how you would like to take them off. You can just wiggle them back and forth until they come off, and you're left with a clean branch. Stem, trunk, stem, trunk. So right there's another one. I'm going to get rid of that one. All the way up from the root to the height of the first flower. So normally we do this process when we see the first flowers or so. Okay. Now, right below my first flower, I've got this sucker. That's a pretty big one. You can see it's already got a bunch of leaves. So on that one, rather than try to snap it off, I'm just going to cut it with some scissors. It's gone. And likewise, this one down here on one of those very first branches, now that one, that's really big. That's got a whole bunch of leaves. So one thing that you can do, if you've got suckers with a ton of leaves, is you can leave a teeny little leaf on the sucker so that you don't shock the plant too much, because suckers do provide photosynthesis. So if you were to cut that entire thing, that might be stressful for the plant. That's taking off a lot of photosynthetic potential. So that was maybe borderline. I don't mind being a little bit heavy on these. I've got a lot of tomatoes, but at your house, if you want to be careful, you would not cut off the entire sucker once they have a lot of leaves. Go all the way from the bottom, look all the way up the trunk, make sure that there are no suckers until you reach the flower, and then look for any yellow leaves, anything that's completely dead. Nothing yellow, nothing completely dead. That one's done. Excuse me. Excuse me. Next, here's another little tomato. Now this one, not yet making any flowers. So I could maybe pinch off a few of these little suckers, but it's early. This one's already pretty big, so rather than pinch off the whole thing, I'll leave a leaf. So it still has a little of that photosynthesis from the sucker. And like I said, there's really no hurry to be doing this. This plant does not yet have flowers, so there's no urgency to be pruning it yet. I just figured I'll do that because I'm here. Let me show you some other things. There's a volunteer coming up right there by my lemon tree. Now here's a big one. This one's got a lot of aphids, and it's also got yellow flowers opening. So, you know, flowers are reproductive organs, sperm and egg. And so when this gets pollinated, the sperm will meet the egg, and those seeds will be little embryos ready to make a new plant, and the plant will package them in something sweet and sugary so that animals will distribute those seeds. So this flower will eventually become a fruit. And in order to make sure that the plant has enough energy, I'm gonna get rid of some suckers. This is a very, very big sucker here. So for such a big sucker, I gotta leave a little bit of photosynthetic potential. No sucker, oh, a little tiny one there. This one's also pretty big, so I'll prune that. And whatever, this is just a volunteer. I'm not terribly invested in it. But since I'm here, since we're talking, I'll take off suckers because this one has flowers. Try to make sure that it puts its energy into more important growth. Geez, there's a whole bunch. This must have been an entire tomato that got buried in the ground here. So whatever, I'll probably leave this one mostly wild. Not too worried about that one. Let's see, where can I show you some more tomatoes? I've got a lot of volunteers on the edges. Here's some that I planted a while ago when you were planting yours, and they're just stalled. They did nothing. I think they didn't get enough water. Maybe they didn't like that dirt. Those three going nowhere. Here's a couple that my wife planted from a batch of yours. These have a bunch of bugs. Not really too optimistic about them. I think I showed you a while ago when we harvested the lettuce that I had planted some tomatoes in with my lettuce. So we've been mowing through that lettuce. It looks like my daughter pulled out a few of the plants because they were starting to bolt. They get bitter when they bolt. You'll be able to taste that difference. Bolting is a flower, so like when the lettuce starts to get tall, that's when you snap them off. And in here, waiting for the lettuce to die, are these little tomatoes. Now, there we go, little sucker removed, little sucker removed, little sucker. You should be doing this probably around now, because my hunch is most of your tomatoes are just starting to make little flowers. So break off all your suckers. Pretty much in the entire life of your tomato, you get rid of yellow leaves, you get rid of the suckers until the height of the first flower. And then once you've reached the first flower, you don't really have to worry about those suckers anymore. Above that height, it's not really a problem. You can see this one I had already cut off some of the suckers. Oops, missed one. Yeah, all right. Remove the suckers from your tomato. If you find any yellow leaves toward the bottom, remove those as well. When your tomato starts to get really, really tall and it's the end of the season, you'll cut the tip off. So at the end of the season, when winter's getting close, you cut the tip off. And then any remaining flowers will still make it, but it won't get any taller. Puts more energy into it right at the end. Yeah, I think that's it. Hope you guys are harvesting your lettuce. Hope you're ready for more lettuce. Hope you're prepping your soils. Oh, one other little update. Sorry, I forgot. Just one last thing. Sorry. I planted my zucchinis a little bit earlier than you because I wanted you to see what to expect. So check this out. These are my green zucchinis and my yellow zucchinis. This green one, you can see a flower. They're beautiful and they're edible. Apparently everything is good fried. These are starting well, but they don't really have anything to show yet. They're just getting going. That'll be a zucchini one day. Check this out. Here's my yellow one, and even before they flower, they have this yellow egg section. When another zucchini pollen reaches that flower, they'll make babies, sperm and egg will meet, and inside the flower, those will migrate into the fruit, and then the fruit will start to grow. So this is kind of a neat thing to notice. You can see these little yellow baby, not quite yet zucchinis. Those are ovum or ova. These are where the egg will eventually settle to make a seed. That time it'll become a fruit. Right now it's just like an empty uterus, so to speak, waiting for the eggs to be fertilized and then migrate to here to start building seeds in fruit. Hopefully yours look like this. I've got bunches of 3, 1, 2, 3 yellow, 1, 2, 3 green. If you need more zucchinis, we have a lot. We have one more variety of zucchinis coming out of the greenhouse soon, probably this week. I forgot to tell you this morning. Okay, done with my video. Bye.